there's Zlatan Ibrahimovic tweet about things like Dave Cratchit didn't do this, such and such does this. I'll have to come up with a few. Excellent. Speaking of people who could come up with funny things, Dom Hodgson.
Yeah, at the Hodge, follow him on Twitter. He said, genuinely felt bad listening to Mark read out my tweets. Seemed hurt by my little joke. Hashtag just bants, mate.
Just bants. He did seem a little, I wouldn't say wounded, but it got under your breastplate, didn't it? It kind of...
I played it for the reaction we got.
Just a little nick. You were not playing. I can read you like a box.
Paul Ludo Lewis said, at Ludo Lewis, for you guys who don't follow me on Twitter, said, can't believe you forgot to mention Steak and BJ Day. Or was it through your subliminal Miller and Carter advertising?
Well, we did talk about Steak and BJ Day when we recorded on Steak and BJ Day last year, if you recall.
I do remember it well, yeah.
There you go, I'm sure you do. But on the subject of Miller and Carter, and this is exclusively for you and me, but that pub 50 yards down the road from my house is going to be a Miller and Carter.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, that's what they're changing it into.
That's exciting.
For you and I, yeah.
For steak fans, but not so much for free salad.
For free salad old dears, yeah. But apparently, according to people who spend time in there, and I'm not one of them really, because it's not really a pub, it's a restaurant with a tiny bar on it, the old dears that live in its vicinity are not entirely happy with the prospect of having to pay 25 quid and up for a dinner and not get their free salad bar anymore.
We will see how that develops. Interesting stuff.
I think I've been living. I've been living in a cardboard box out the back of it. If you put such a good steakhouse within staggering distance of me. Who is Daniel Hull?
Well, Daniel Hull got in touch with us by email, and I do want to preface this by saying, Daniel, I replied to your email, and Gmail kept telling me it was trying to reply and tried to send it through, but it never was delivered, which is sad because I wanted you to read what we said, thanking you for your email, but we'll probably cover it now after reading it out.
So you're about to get an oral reach around.
Daniel gets in touch to say, hi, Mark and Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted to drop you a quick email to say I think the podcast is great. Always look forward to listening to it every week. I started listening last year when I got back into rugby league and haven't missed a show yet. Growing up, my dad would take me down to the Willows every Salford home game and the occasional away game. I was probably a bit young to remember too much about the games, but I remember we probably lost more than we won, a bit like now. I stopped following rugby as I got older and none of my friends were really into it, so followed football and boxing more. However, I got back into rugby last year and just can't watch enough of it. In my spare time, if I'm not watching RL, I'm reading about it or listening to podcasts. The wife probably isn't too happy about all the Super League and NRL being watched in our house at the minute, especially the 5am NRL games. It got myself a season ticket at the AJ Bill this year. Salford look alright so far, and on our day, I think we can probably beat anyone. Obviously, when we play the big teams, we need them to have an off day too. But we are just so inconsistent and never seem to be able to finish teams off. Anyway, just wanted to thank you both for the podcast. It must take a lot of your time, but it really is appreciated. Not knowing any rugby league fans, it's really good hearing your views and other fan reviews. Many thanks, Daniel. He also put a line in to say that he believed they were going to beat Castleford this weekend and wanted to get it in writing.
He did. And it's been acknowledged.
Yeah.
He is quite the soothsayer when it comes to that. But thank you, Daniel. It's always lovely to get these sorts of longer form emails from people, especially when it's their first time writing in and letting us know that they've listened, and then to find out that you've been listening for so long as well.
I've noticed that is
part of that silent mass of people that do download it, so it's lovely to hear from you, and thank you for your kind words.
I've noticed a couple of favourites and retweets and likes on Facebook and that sort of stuff, so he's really getting involved. And what you need to do, the next step for you, Daniel, is to start sending game reviews in for the matches you've seen, and then your views can be one of the array of fan reviews that we get shared, because that would be more than welcome. What I replied to him to say that he won't have received because of whatever the problem is at his end on that, maybe he needs to delete a few emails, but what I replied to say is his email kind of covers off the genesis of the show in the first place, in terms of me and you started this show because we didn't have a lot of people to talk about rugby league with, and our missuses of the time.
And in fact, at the time, we weren't even really allowed to talk about it when we got together, because we would hijack conversations and evening meals, wouldn't we?
Yeah, so we'd get in trouble. So we'd set up this as a conduit to that.
Yeah.
And so we could talk as much about rugby league for one night a week as we wanted, and share our experiences of the sport, get in touch with other fans with similar experiences. So, it's always nice to hear that it's achieving the original kind of ethos still now, 4 years in.
It's always funny for me that you always skip over the part where you told me to leave Lindsay so that we could talk about rugby league more, but okay. Can you imagine if that?
Yeah, because that made my life so much easier, didn't it? That period of time.
And another thing.
But now it's okay. Now I finally got to the point where I needed to be with that bruise.
Now you're reaping the sweet rewards. Okay, right. David Powell. Say David again.
He said, chaps, there is no fucking way Greg Richards is a better player than Luke Douglas, no matter how shit he has started the year.
Well, let's have a look at that in more detail, because you love a stat, don't you, Mark?
Well, I just thought I'd do a quick comparison, and then when I looked at it, I thought it was worth sharing out, and actually, the sort of performance between the two players is pretty similar. Now, I don't think we don't get minutes played because we don't pay for the full stats that you can get. We just use the free ones available. So I would suspect that Richards' minutes played per game will be lower than what Douglas's have been so far this season. But before this weekend's games, I put this together. And in 2016, Richards played 25 games. Saints had a win percentage of 64%, so basically 2 in every 3 they won, pretty much. He only scored the 1 try. He was making 18 tackles per game at 94% success rate, 7.5 carries per game, 45 metres per game at 6 metres per carry. In the whole of the 25 games, he only made 5 handling errors and gave away 9 penalties. So in 2017, for Douglas at that point, he'd had 3 games, won 1 out of 3. No tries yet, but it's early days for a prop forward. Tackles per game 29, so that's up on Richards. 94% tackle success is the same, but when you're adding on 10 extra tackles, that's pretty good going. Little bit down on carries per game, fractionally 7.3, and metres per game 41. Average per carry 5.6. So he's a little bit down on metres gained, but not massively. It's the errors where he's up. So in 3 games, he'd made 3 handling errors and gave away 4 penalties in just 3 games. Now, this was before Douglas's probably most solid game of the season, although unspectacular in what it was against Catalan. But I think they sort of shine a light on that. If anything, you were more reliable with Richards in your side than what Douglas has been bringing to the table so far. But we both agree that Luke Douglas should be a better player, and we were expecting to. I mean, I was saying Saints have got the best front row in the competition.
Well, we both echoed that. We were talking about. I was raving about their pack in the start in the season previews and what that could possibly build for them. So I think we're all a little surprised and a bit disappointed by how that's panned out so far. Hopefully, they can get things fixed up and live up to what their potential is in terms of that group of players in the pack.
When I actually had a little bit of a bigger look, Richards' stats since Super League Pod began, because that's when I kept them from, 2014, his metres per game were actually a little bit higher, and a lot of his stats were like fractionally better than those numbers. So actually, it's...
So those work right. Well, there you go. Right then, Mark. Let's talk about this next tweeter, because I suspect we're going to be ripping the lid off a very familiar and lovely can of worms here.
Yes.
Who's this person getting in touch with us?
Well, this chap got in touch with us. First time got in touch with us this week, but been in touch a couple of times now, so that's great. He's called Neil McEwen.
No, Neil McKeown.
No. I asked him how he pronounced his name.
Oh, fuck off, did you?
So his Twitter handle is at Neil McEwen 4600. Now, I believe he's a teacher, because he said the kids always are, and I hoped it meant he was a teacher.
That was a very...
The kids always ask me this, and I tell them, unless it means his kids, I don't know.
To be fair, then how do we pronounce our surname? If they're his own children, and they don't even know, that tells you all you need to know about them.
Well, they know now, and he says, he spells it out for them, McEwen. So there you go.
That's not right though, because that's McKeown.
No, he says he spells it. For them to understand phonetically, he'll give them how it's... Because lots of words in the English language are written not how they sound, are they?
Fine, use the word phonetic first of all, and we'll have to give him that. I'll have to say it's the way he pronounces his surname.
So it turns out that Neil's right and Chris is wrong.
Chris is all half wrong, and I'm fully fucking wrong by the sounds of it. Yeah.
No, but that really made my... I think it was on Wednesday, maybe it came... Wednesday, I think it came through at work. I was having a tough day. Whenever it came through, I was having an hard day at work, and it really felt like a win.
Well, good. Good for you. Very nice. And thank you for getting in touch, Neil, whatever your name is.
Fatboy Rob got in touch. He said, Phil Clark joked about a try from your own half being worth 8 points in his article about Classic Cast. What do you think?
No, I disagree. No, it was a joke.
Yeah.
There's nothing to see here, Fatboy Rob, I'm afraid. I don't think it's something that we should bring in.
I think every way of meddling with the point scoring system in games or results wise kind of is a bit gimmicky, and I don't really look for gimmicks. So when you think about like talking about points for who wins each half and stuff like that as well, I'm not into any of that stuff.
No.
The one rule change in terms of points that I did find was quite entertaining was, remember when they did the nines tournaments and they did a power play option where instead of taking a kick at goal, you'd get one play, you'd start in front of I think you'd start either from where the try was scored or in front of the post. I can't remember exactly. You get on the 10 metre line, you get one play, and if you scored a try, you got given 4 points. Now, that is like in
the NFL,
the NFL rule of like you can go for 2 points or kick a goal for 1 point. And so I thought that was quite interesting. But 13 aside, your chances of it coming off regularly enough for people to even try to use it would be very slim, I would suggest.
And it was exciting in nines where there's a bit more space to work with, isn't it? So it worked there. And I'm certain that Fatboy Rob was suggesting this jokingly as well, given the fact that he used Phil Clark's name in there. So, no, I suspect it's not something that the RFL are going to be employing soon.
No, Scott Lister, at Scott Lister 1987, asked us a question on Friday morning over breakfast. He said, Bulldogs versus Warriors today played in an inside stadium. If Super League teams was to play all their games inside, would more fans go to the game?
Well, I don't know is the honest answer. It's hard to work out because part of the whole reason we switched to summer rugby was to bring more people in and play at a more clement time of year. So it would seem counterintuitive to me to now suddenly start, investing in indoor stadia, given the cost that's associated with all those. But when you look at the first 5 weeks of the season that we've had and the inclement weather that's gone along with it, I think in those, in those sort of bookends to the season, it might well attract people. But most stadiums are covered now and what have you anyway, and I quite like the outdoor. So I suspect it wouldn't make... given that it's rugby league we're talking about here, I think the difference would be nominal, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, people find any reason they can not to go to games, it feels like sometimes.
It's an outdoor sport. It should be played outdoors. And I won't be watching it on a Thursday. Can you imagine Thursday night indoor game? There'd be fucking 3 people going in some parts of the world.
No, I think we've had the indoor games at the Magic Weekend. I don't think it's added anything to the sport. No.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's your feedback and shout-outs taken care of. Thank you very much, everybody, for your kind feedback and thoughts this week. Let's take a look now at news from around the world of rugby league. So to the news then, and we'll start off in West Yorkshire, where Featherstone Rovers have made a formal offer to Super League club Wakefield Trinity to ground share at Post Office Road for at least the 2018 season. Trinity chairman Michael Carter said in Sunday's Salford programme notes, last Sunday's I should say, that their 2017 year was to be their final one at Bellevue. The venue would not meet minimum ground standards for the top flight. We believe Wakefield playing at Featherstone would be the best possible fit for supporters, Rovers general manager David Longo said, particularly given the fact our stadium is situated less than 5 miles away. Longo said informal talks had been held between the clubs, which, if successful, would see Trinity play home fixtures in the town in addition to their existing training agreement. I think it goes without saying that our stadium meets minimum standards set by the RFL, he added, and we are consistently making improvements to ensure it continues to develop as a high-quality facility, fit for top flight and even international rugby league. I, for one, sympathise a great deal with the Wakefield Board of Directors, staff, players and supporters, given the predicament they find themselves in. It is not the first time Wakefield have considered a move, of course, with Dewsbury tipped as a destination before an agreement to redevelop the Bellevue site was completed. However, there's been no further development 6 months on, and Trinity, who moved to the ground in 1895, have issued their notice of intention to leave. So Featherstone Rovers, a possible destination for Trin.
No, Trinity have said that they're not going to Featherstone.
Oh, they are then.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, that doesn't necessarily mean that won't happen, does it?
No.
So it could still happen. I think they